Hey guys, in this video I'm going to be doing a daytime luxury photo editing session, so let's get into it. Alright, so for this particular one, it is this folder, number 4. Now, I shot this with the Sony a7R IV, and those are 60 megapixel images. They're huge. And this particular customer doesn't need photos that big. So what I'm gonna do is shrink them down to 20 megapixels with the Adobe DNG converter before I start. That'll make the editing process a little bit faster since the computer's not gonna have to process so many pixels. So let's go ahead and select the folder. And actually I already have it selected here. Now let's save it in a new location. And let's go to desktop, 4. Now I'm going to create a new folder called DNGs. Select and change preferences. Limit pixel count to 20 megapixels. I'm fine with that. Let's hit convert. Now this process will take a few minutes. Usually doesn't take too long, but obviously the computer is processing a lot of pixels to shrink it down, so it does take a second. It also does take a lot of resources, so I usually don't do too many other tasks while it's doing that. It's usually laggy. That's the same when Lightroom is building previews as well. I'll go ahead and open up preview. And let's see. Sorry, I said preview. I meant Lightroom. It looks like it's halfway done right now. All right, should almost be done. 69 left. $41. $13 left. Let's go. All right, here we go. Quit. So let's go ahead and import. Let's go desktop. Yeah, we are folder 4, and we're gonna do DNGs. Import with lens correction only. We're gonna do full previews. Let's go ahead and import these. It's 181 images. It'll take a second for it to build the previews. It's not gonna take as long as it would take if it were processing 60 megapixel images, but I usually just let it do its thing and wait till I see my name up here once it's done. But what we can do right now, even starting, is just selecting. I don't think I'm going to use the majority of 181 images. I think I took way too many photos as I was going through the property. So I'm just going to select images to edit as it builds the previews. So I'm gonna hit B on the ones. It's gonna be adding to the quick collection. So I'll select this. I think for the front door I'm gonna take an angled shot. Let's go ahead and go with this one. Now here, I spent a lot of time in this entryway shot. Let's do this one, and so we have an ambient and a flash shot here. Now let's see this room. So I'm looking for the flash exposure and also an ambient. This is a flashed one as well. This is an ambient. So let's select that one and this one. Here's the ambient. And from the flashed, I guess I'll take this one. All right, here's the dining room table. Is this a flashed? It's hard to tell. So these ones are flashed. This one, yeah, I think this one is flashed. You can see the shadow coming in over here. I probably like this one the best, and then we can just use either this shot right here or the ambient. Let's go ahead and just use this one where there's no reflection. We can get that out of there. All right, so here Here, let me make these thumbnails a little bit bigger so you can see what I'm talking about. So here's the ambient shot. And that's what a lot of our luxury photos is, just blending a flash, an ambient, and also getting reflections out. Some shots, you know, can require more than 2 exposures, but we try to get it done with 2. All right, so we have ambient. We have the reflection over here. Just trying to see what interior shot looks good to me. I mean, these are very similar. I guess I'll take the second one. All right, we got this over here, this dining room shot. That first one was too bright. This is the ambient, so I'll take the second one and that ambient. Here we are in the kitchen. I like this one. I like how the lighting hit this area right here, and then we'll use this ambient right here for all this data back here. You see how dark it is right here? We can use this window. But yeah, those two will work for that one, or should. For this one, yeah, I was trying to flash over here. This is the ambient shot right here. And then this is a flashed. Or do I want this one? Probably like this one. It's not blown out. It's got some good detail over here. So it's just personal preference. Here is an ambient and a flash. Let's go through here. Here's the ambient. I took a lot of pictures over here. I just want one that's lit pretty well in back here. It's got good windows. I'll take this first one. All right, the sitting area. I think this one will blend well with this one. There's no glare here. Obviously, we're going to be trying to get that glare out. I think this one looks good. All right. Let's see. Now we have a further back shot in the kitchen. So here's an ambient. It actually looks pretty good in this area, but I would like to, let's do this one. Actually, that's kind of too crazy. You can see how that shadow being cast. I don't know, but maybe the windows, let's try that one. We'll give that one a try. We obviously have a lot of different exposures we can work with. This is the laundry room. I'll probably just end up doing a single exposure. It looks like there's no reflection there. In some of these rooms that aren't necessarily money, like super money shots, and we can get away with the single exposure. In many cases here, outside this door, it was really dark, so we'll have to blend this one, which I really like how this one turned out, with an ambient. This is the ambient. This one I flashed out here. I think we'll take the flashed one and just kind of take that information from out there and make it look more appealing. All right, so this one, we got good windows over here. And then this one looks like a good ambient shot. Now this bathroom, now this is kind of like two pictures we're blending. We have a bathroom and a bedroom. Which bathroom shot do we like? I probably like this one. This one looks pretty natural. And then the bedroom shot, I don't know, it's kind of tricky. I like how the windows look on this one, not blown out. Let's give that one a try. We could probably use this ambient to make it look a little bit more natural. All right. Here's I think that's ambient. This one looks kind of ambient, but I think it's a flash. Hate when I accidentally hit a button and it does something. All right, so let's, do we add this one? Yeah, add that one. And I'll take this last one. We might be able to get away with the single. Like, there's no like negative artifacting in this one. If you just wanted a little bit warmer over here, we could use this one. But it actually looks pretty good. Same on this angle. I think I like this one. I don't think we need the ambient shot to make it look nice. And over here I like this one. You can see a lot of these shots. That one might be a little bright. This last one, it looks pretty subtle of a flash. There's no shadows cast from the fan. And then in this bathroom, this flash shot, you can see a little bit, but hardly. It's not distracting, in my opinion. All right, here we're gonna need this information for these blocks, and then this is the ambient. We'll make it a little bit more interesting. I'll go ahead and take myself out of the picture right here. Here's a nice bathtub. I like the lighting in this shower here. Now for this bathroom right here, we could layer both of these. I think we can get away with just this single exposure. There's only a little bit of brightness right here. We could probably do an exposure down, or we could layer them and take that part of the image from this one right here. We have options though, if we don't like the result that we get from a single exposure. All right, this one right here, I think this will look good just like that. All right, and then these dark ones, or sorry, these exterior ones. Now this is a time of day that I don't really like how the exterior shots turn out. We actually shot this at twilight as well, so those are going to be the main exterior shots for this. So these ones are kind of bonus, so I'm not too particular about the earlier exteriors. I want them to look nice, but I'm not looking for perfection. Sometimes I'll test them out just to see how much data is in these. You can see that it's missing some data here. Let's go back to the library. We can test this one. We can see how much information is in the shadows here. We can boost shadows. Usually when you boosted it really high, you start to see this kind of artifacting, this blue and magenta coloring. But that's at +5. Like, that's, you know, this image was shot looking like actually worse than that. It was shot looking like this. So it gets all that information out of the shadows, but yeah, I'll just pick that one right there. I know that this isn't gonna have much data in it, so let's just pick some of these. And hopefully not have to do a sky replacement if we can make these darker ones work over here. I don't know why I took so many exterior shots. I think I was just messing around, trying to get a good sense of what the good shots were going to be when twilight came around. And that's usually, you know, that's one of the bigger points to shooting before twilight hits at Luxuries. All right, these are some detail shots that the customer requested. I'm not going to edit these because that's not a request that you get very often, but I can make a video on that at a later time. Potentially, if that's something you guys are interested in. All right, so now that I've gone through, we have 55 images. Obviously, a lot of them are 2 exposures, so that's a good amount for just some earlier in the day shots. So let's just start from the front of the house and move our way forward. So let's do profile straight, auto, and let's just make this how we like. Usually I like to boost shadows a little bit more and reduce highlights. We can mess with some of these additional adjustments just to see, you know, what the result is. Let me boost vibrance. Maybe that gives a little bit more punch on the outside. I think it looks pretty good as is. Nothing crazy. If you wanted to boost like a certain color, say you wanted this green to pop a little bit more, you can go down here to saturation, choose this tool, then click on the plant, click and then move up, and that kind of just adds that specific color. It actually looks good with a greenery, a little bit more green. Now let me copy this. Let's see, upright mode, yeah, no local adjustments. Now we do have our shadow right here that we're dealing with. So let's see how Lightroom does, removing that. Not very good. It's basically cloning like part of the sidewalk. I'm surprised, you know, how bad Lightroom is at picking good clone spots. Here, actually I had it on heal. Maybe that was a reason. All right, that looks better. All right. Make sure your settings are on the right thing then. All right, let's copy. We don't want local adjustments. Go ahead, copy, paste. I just like to keep a uniform look to the shots. That one's a little bit bright, so let's bring down the exposure a little bit. Let's paste here, see what it looks like. This one's a little bright as well. Bring it down. Even boost the shadows a little bit. All right, we have some shadows. I think that's us. I don't think Lightroom's gonna do a good job with that. Almost half tempted just to crop it in. It's right on the edge, so you can crop it in. Yeah, I don't think that really took away from it. So let's keep going. All right, that one looks dark. So, and probably a little bit warm. We got highlights all the way down. Let's bring down the temperature a little bit. This is just a bad time of day with the sun glaring down. Now, this particular property wasn't available to shoot until after, I think, 3:30. I think we started shooting around 4 o'clock. Ideally, you're shooting your daytime luxuries when the sun's right above the home, so you're not dealing with that harsh lighting. That would have been around noon, but the home wasn't ready. So anyway, so we just shot what we could. And also, since the customer wanted the twilights, it worked out all right. But the daytime luxuries could have looked a little bit better, in my opinion. All right. So now let's shoot auto here. Start with auto, just make it look good. Now the flash that I used over here is a little bit on the bright side. I'm trying to keep the windows looking good because in the ambient I'm not gonna have very good crisp windows at a 0. But this one I think was shot at probably close to a -3. And clearly these two images don't line up, so I'm gonna have to auto align unless I just accidentally and that's usually why I have auto align off, especially when I'm gonna be layering. Now, one thing that I just realized about this one, this is bad. Like, I don't think this is gonna do a very good job. Lightroom does not do a good job, especially shutters like this. Honestly, that's not too distracting. You kind of, it doesn't look very good, but I would have thought they did a worse job. I'm just trying to make it look like there's not a human there. Now, if I look away and I look, my eye doesn't really get drawn there. Let me see about changing that. All right, not perfect, but you can get a better result in Photoshop. I'm not gonna worry about it too much on that shot. That shot's not that important anyway. All right, so in the front of the home, like I said, I'm more concerned about the flash shot with the nice windows, and then all this area can be covered with the ambient shot. It's very bright right here. It was not flash. There was just a lot of strong light coming in. There's like a window with a whole lot of light. So let me bring down the highlights just a little bit. And one thing that I want to look for is consistent white balance between the two photos as we're gonna layer them. So, all right, let's go ahead and open them as layers in Photoshop. So select the two layers, right click, edit in, open as layers in Photoshop. So usually I'm putting the ambient exposure on top. There we go. Select this right here, that's the layer mask. Hit Command I, invert it. And now we need the paint tool, which we do have already. And now we're just gonna be painting in. Our flow is about 9%, so I'm just gonna be painting in where we want information from the ambient, you know, where it's darker, where we might wanna remove. Let's see if we can remove some of this flash. This room's kind of challenging just because it has so much different light scenarios going on. Looks really dark over here. Let's brighten it up. The ceiling looks kind of odd, but honestly, this is the ambient ceiling. All right, let's go ahead and save it. Go back to Lightroom. I'm gonna remove the ambient and that one. So this is the blended version, and I'm gonna hit auto, align it. I did notice there was a speck on my sensor, so it does show up in some of these images, so I'm just gonna hit it real quick. And we got decent windows. Now we can still make adjustments in Lightroom even after we do it. I think I would like it a little bit brighter on the furniture here. Might be a little bit too much, but let's see. Yeah, that right there is too much. All right, I'm not gonna mess with it too much. We could change, we could adjust the white balance slightly. Maybe make it a little bit more magenta. Anyways, I really don't like messing with it too much. I usually like to mess with it before I blend it because afterwards it's just a TIFF file and it doesn't have the native white balance information on there. Now, this is one of those shots that I kicked my tripod during the shoot, and I was kicking myself. I was like, man, I'm gonna have to do extra work, and that's probably what we're gonna have to end up doing. So let's go ahead and edit this one. We'll have to align them in Photoshop. So this looks pretty good. Let me see. What information are we getting from here? You know, this. Let's go auto. Let's try to make this one look decent. So we'll keep all this information from here. I mean, honestly, my whole camera shifted, so we'll see how this thing lines up. All right, we'll keep it nice and bright. All right, so let's select both of these, right click, open as layers in Photoshop, and then we're gonna auto align the layers, so we'll select both layers. After it loads up, there we go, Shift, Edit, Auto Align Layers. Just hit OK. And then we'll be able to tell once we start, all right, so this is it, once we start painting on it. All right, so let's do the top, the ambient. We got layer mask, Command I, invert it. Now this is our main. Now we're just gonna be painting. Our flow's at 9%, so let's just start, you know, I like to kind of cover a little bit. You can see it looks good over here, but I'm noticing that if you look in this area right here, since my camera shifted, you can see how the edge of the TV and that frame looks odd, and even down here. So what I'm gonna do is not use that part of the ambient where it's noticeable, but over here it looks good, like on the couch it's like over here. So I switched it back to black, and now I'm painting to take away what I did, so that you can see the TV looks good, that frame looks good, and so does that vase, I guess you would call it. All right, that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and hit X, save it, and now we'll align it, transform align, and then crop it in. All right, there's the crop. Oh my gosh, now that I'm noticing it, it was off even more. If you look over here, you see what I'm talking about? My goodness. All right, let's get rid of that. Let's go back in here. Let's be a little bit more diligent about, or I'm gonna be a little bit more diligent about the artifacting the issue. So I'm gonna do the exact same thing that I just did previously. We got the both layers selected, edit, auto align layers. And now really, I'm only concerned about so many, you know, so many parts of the image that I'm getting from the ambient that really makes it look better. So we did align them, selected the ambient, layer mask, we inverted with Command I. Now we're just painting. It's really, sorry, we're on black on black. We want to paint with white to bring in. So I'm gonna be careful about, like when I did this, it looks good. But the couch and these items over here do not look good. So I'm gonna paint everywhere else. Not too much, all right. That looks good. I'm not gonna overdo it because I know the shifting of my tripod made this a challenge, and it clearly created more work for us, and I knew it when we were shooting. So let's go ahead and crop this in. Done. We'll auto align it, make it straight. That looks pretty good. Nothing looks blurry or out of place, I think. the end result did look good. All right, so let's move on. We got ambient, we got flash here. Luckily, it doesn't look like we're gonna have the same issue with this image. So I'll do auto settings, just kind of get that one looking how I want it. Auto, I'm gonna bring up exposure. All right, now I'm just kind of paying attention to the areas that I'm gonna be bringing in with the ambient. Those both look good. Make sure that the white balances look similar. Yeah, they look good. Open as layers in Photoshop. Hopefully don't have to align them. So the ambient one's on top. Let's select layer mask, Command I, invert that layer mask. And now let's go painting here. Just to add a little bit of ambiance to the flashed exposure, making it look a little bit more realistic. All right, let's go ahead and hit X. Back over here in Lightroom. So hit B on the ambiance, that's the blended, that's the flashed. All right, now let's go ahead and start with auto here. Let's bring up the exposure. Let me straighten this out. Bring up the exposure. And in this shot, I'm more concerned about the setting over here. I want this to look nice. So in my opinion, that looks good. Now this one, I want them to be pretty similar. I'm gonna copy these settings and paste them over here. And yeah, these look pretty similar. I think they're ready to go. All right, let's select them both, edit, open as layers in Photoshop. Now we want this one on top, which it did not load on top, so I'm gonna slide it down, and I'm gonna select the top layer, the ambient layer, layer mask, Command I, whoops, not Control, Command I. And now make sure we have white on top here. Now we can start painting away this where I'm showing up, and that hot spot from the flash. Now this looks pretty flashy. I do like to just run over a little bit of flow. I do like how the flash looks, but I just think it looks a little bit more realistic when you have a little bit of the ambient look. All right, let's go ahead and hit X, save. I think that'll work. All right, let's hit B on that. That looks like the blended one, and that's the ambient. Yep. All right, let's hit B. All right, now we're at this. Hold on a second. Was this one we were trying to do a single exposure on? I don't think so. Let's go back into the library and find the ambient. Here's the ambient. So let's go back over to our quick collection. It automatically puts it at the end, so I'm gonna bring it, let's put it next to the other one. Where are we? Is this it? All right. All right, so let's go ahead and hit auto. Now this one's pretty dang bright. And it flash, you can see all the extra lighting on the ceiling. Now this one's pretty yellow. If I start to paint in it, it's gonna look different. Now there's just a 200 degree, what was it, 4300? I want it more white. Let's see. All right, what are we getting from this? So we're gonna be getting over here, try to get that out, and we'll get some from the roof. Okay, this should work. Select both, edit and open as layers in Photoshop. All right, let's see if the ambient one loads on top. Nope, put that one on top. Layer mask, Command I, and now I'm painting white. Some of that ambient look, bring it in over here. We're concerned about this flash, so I'm just kind of rubbing out that hot spot. Maybe I'll just a little bit. I think that looks good. Maybe a little bit of that shadow from the plant. All right, let's save that. That looks pretty good. I could have brought down the outside look a little bit, but I didn't. All right. All right, now working here, we have, we'll probably take this part. You know, I like how all this looks. We'll probably just take this part over here. I'm gonna try to make it similar. I'll probably make it cooler to where when I do start brushing with it, it doesn't look too drastic. Let's change this. Looks pretty cool in my opinion. Let's bring it a little warmer. All right. Open as layers in Photoshop. We'll put the ambient on top. Do a layer mask, Command I. Start painting in where we want the details from that layer, the ambient shot, which is the ceiling back in here. Maybe we want to take a little bit edge off of that flash. Now it's pretty cool, so I'd probably, actually painting in here, it makes it look a little bit more realistic. Over there was a little bit. I like this shot. I like how it turned out. All right, let's go ahead and hit save. Go back to Lightroom, wait for that to load up. All right, now working here in the kitchen. All right, so we'll take this shot. I mean, this is pretty bright. Let me bring this down a little bit. Looks a little bit too fake, but I think when I brush over with a little bit of ambient, I'm just trying to kind of compare what they look like. Are they gonna match up when we do? I think it looks pretty good. I guess worst case, we can just make additional edits and redo it. Let's go ahead and layer them in Photoshop. Let's see, put the ambient one on top. Layer mask, Command I. Hopefully the camera didn't shake on this one. Then we'll just paint where we want more ambient look. That actually looks good just like that. Obviously they had some work to do under here. We could remove those incomplete sockets, but I think just the little bit that we did just made it look realistic. On one hand, the ambient one did not look very good, And the flash one didn't look very good, but somehow combined, they just turned out looking good. B, clean up that. All right, so here it's all dark over here. All right, let's start with auto. And just bring up the exposure a bit, and bring down highlights. Down here, I'm just more paying attention to here. All right, let's copy this, paste in this, in the ambient exposure. Let's bring it up. And so all this area looks good. All right, I think on this particular picture, I like the ambient shot better. It's really like which layer's more close to the finished product that you're trying to create. And in this case, I think it's the ambient. So what we're gonna do is put the flash on top, layer mask that instead, Command I. And now we're gonna paint over here just to get some more of that flash color look. I think that's kind of what was missing in this. And maybe over here too, get a little bit more detail out of those windows. Let's see what the flash, maybe, yeah, darken it down over there. I think that looks good. Let's go ahead and hit save. Come back to Lightroom. Yeah, I like how that turned out. That turned out nice. All right. All right, now we got this one. So this nice flashed and this ambient. Let's go ahead and just do auto settings. I'll bring up exposure. That looks good. I almost had those. See, I was trying to get some detail on the windows. I think I went to like -4 on the exposure value. All right, let's go ahead and open as layers in Photoshop. There's just a little bit of that flash exposure that I want on top of the ambient. I think the ambient is more of the look we're going for. So let's put the flash on top, create a layer mask, Command I. Now we just start painting where we want. That flash exposure, we can just bring, you know, I think it'll just, in this area of the kitchen, I think I liked some of that flash. It's kind of bright. Let's go ahead and exit out. I'll probably bring down the exposure a little bit, still in Lightroom. We can straighten it out if we want to. All right, let's straighten. And then we'll bring down exposure oh so slightly. That looks good. All right, well, I'm not sure what happened to the other exposures. Hold on. With this one, let's go back to library and find our flash exposure. Or did we just decide to not really do that one? Let's see. Yeah, I think this is one where we can do 3 layers. Let's go back over here. This would be a good, I mean, this is about, I created multiples because of just to change where the hot spots were, and we were trying to get some light in this room over here. It looked really dark, I believe. Let's move these. All right, is this where we're at? Nope, we're not there yet. All right, let's go here. All right, so we have this ambient shot. Let's do auto settings, just kind of get it to where we want it. Probably a little bit too warm. Let's bring down that a little. Temperature, that looks good to me. Now this one, part of this one, you know, I'm just looking at this area right here. We got a nice outside. Let me see. Yeah, they got some better views out the windows. So we can use kind of this area on this shot. And then with this one, we can use this area. Here, let me copy these settings so it looks similar. Paste, I'm gonna bring it down a little bit. I'm more concerned about this area right here. That looks good. All right, so now we're gonna grab all three of these. Edit in, open as layers in Photoshop. So we're gonna kind of pick and choose the parts that where we want. What we'll probably do is just keep this ambient one, since this is mostly what we want, on the bottom. And then each of these will get a layer mask, inverted, Command I, layer mask, Command I. Now with this one, let me see. I think this is when I was standing over there, so we might, sorry, I'm still with black. Let's invert that. So we're painting with white. Sorry, I did not select the layer mask. You gotta select the layer mask. All right. Oh, I see, I'm over here on this one, so. Let me undo that. All right, so we're going over here for that one. That looks good. And then this one, we're going over here. Hold on, something looks off about this layer. Let me move this up. All right, let me just try to paint this white, so you see as I flow through it, it just looks bizarre. All right, so that's the ambient. That's the bad one. Let's remove that. All right, so this one actually turned out all right. When we layered this, we had this area right here. I'm standing over here in this shot, I believe. Yeah, you can see me right there. So that's why I'll remove myself. All right, I'm not gonna spend too much time on that. Something went wrong in my layering, I guess, when I was doing multiple, so let's go ahead and just save this and keep going. It looks much better over here. You got better lighting over here. I don't wanna pause and slow up the process. Plus we have multiple angles of that. We have another shot just 5 feet back, and that was one of my thoughts as well. All right, so let's remove the ambient. We'll keep that one. All right. So this is the same deal. Hold on, where was my second shot on this one? Let's go back to the library. I needed my second. So we have this one. There should be an ambient. I think it was this one we were going to use. So we can get that glare out of the window. All right, let's go develop. Auto settings. So in this one, I'm more concerned about how the interior looks. That looks good. And then this one, more the window. These look pretty similar. All right, let's go ahead and select them both. Open as layers in Photoshop. All right, so we want, I think we want this one on the bottom, ambient on top. Man, all those shadows throw me off. All right, so we're painting white, getting rid of that glare right there. And that's why sometimes when I did do that front flashing, there wasn't any, like the lighting was very similar, so it just came off very easily. Whoops. We don't want to paint all over the place because there were shadows all over the place from that one, but yeah, I think that looks good. So we'll keep that one. And we'll remove that one. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and, should I skip this one? We have this sitting area, and we already have a shot from right here. That's all right, let's go ahead and just edit this. All right, we'll start with auto. For this shot, I'm more concerned about down here. This is where I'm getting, you know, the information from the windows. It's kind of, we'll try to keep it dark. Let's see at this one. I think I keep accidentally deselecting images from the quick collection for some reason. All right, previous import, it'll go to where that shot is. So we have this one, and then we have this one, and this shot. All right, let's go back to library, quick collection. Let's move those where they should be. Right here. All right, so that one I've already messed around with. Let's see if this one looks, we can make this kitchen area look the best. I think the kitchen area looks pretty good here. Honestly, this one's not bad as is. I mean, it could use a little bit more crispness down here. All right, let's just get rid of this one. All right, let's open up these, or let's layer these in Photoshop and see what we got. All right, so we'll put the flash one on top, layer mask, Command I, and then we're just gonna be painting a little bit down here. We probably could use a smaller brush. You can see where the artifacting starts to start. That looks great. Let's leave that as is. I brought a little bit more out of the windows and the lighting down there. I didn't want to paint too much. And on the ceiling, you can start to see some of the light from the flash come over. I got a little bit on there, but it's not too bad. You can see what we started with. All right, let's start. Now this one I just was planning on doing a single exposure. We'll see if that holds up. This is the laundry room, so let's go ahead and straighten it. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good already. All right, let's do profile straight auto for this one. And I feel like that didn't change a dang thing. This one we just did an ambient. This is just the pantry. We'll just leave that as is. That one's not that important. That's more like if somebody says, hey, what does the pantry look like? You send them a picture of that. All right, this one looks pretty good. No glares. You know, not much on the shadows from the fan. So let's move this in here just a bit. I think that looks great. Look at those windows. Now let's copy. I think I had the same settings in this room, so that looks pretty good. Let's just bring it down a little bit, and then we wanted this one for information out here. So let's bring it up, and I think it's a little bit cooler. All right, that's probably good. Select both layers, edit, open as layers in Photoshop. So we'll put the one with the middle, this information, because this is essentially what we wanted. Put that one on the bottom. The one with that room information, Command I. Now we're just gonna paint in right here. Honestly, that looks worse. Hold on, the Control Option, let's make this smaller. It was just bleeding onto the walls. We don't want that. And bleeding onto the chair, we don't want that either. I mean, you can spend a lot of time on this. And that's why it is easier if the layers aren't drastically different. These ones are. So whenever you're painting on it, it just bleeds off over into your... Let me redo. So you can see how it's bleeding off. You can get away with that brush shot a lot, but it just doesn't look very good on this one. Here, I'll just do my best right now. Let's go in. I was gonna look at what other layers I have. I think I had some other options, but I wanna make sure not to touch those walls. We can bring up the flow too if we wanted, just to have it move a little bit faster. Then down here, without touching that chair. All right, with the, oh my gosh, you see that, like that halo effect? I just don't want to spend I don't want to make these videos too long for you guys. Honestly, I would probably, in this case, I would probably prefer a darker room than a room that looks like that. So let's go ahead and not save this. Let's go back to Lightroom. Now what you can do, you can use probably exposure brush. If I would have had 2 flashes, it would have been nice to flash this room and that one. I didn't have 2. But what we can do, let's try something else. Because we're really just trying to get this doorway, right? So we want this to be, maybe we make it really bright, right? We want this doorway closer to this, right? So that's really white. Let's see. All right. All right, so we made a few adjustments. Let's go ahead and try it again. Let's see if we get a better result this second time around. All right, layer mask, Command I. Control Option, let's make this bigger. Now we're gonna paint over here. Now you see what I'm talking about? It looks much better. There's a little bit, but nothing to what we were doing before. So let's save that. That looks much better, more natural. All right. So there we go. Just had to make a few more adjustments on that one. So this one's really only good for the windows, honestly. That flash is going crazy. But yeah, this is one reason why I flash forward on the windows. Just so it's not as of a dramatic of a brush. You know, if it was like dark and you just have dark window or nice windows, but it's dark inside, it makes the blend harder sometimes. All right, let's go ahead and bring this one up. I think the white balance looks pretty good. Yeah. All right, that's good. All right, let's layer these up, see what we got. All right. So we'll put, which one do we want? Do we want this one? Which one do we want on the top? I think we want this one on the bottom, which it is. So we're gonna layer mask, Command I. Now we're just gonna paint the windows. And you see how when we're painting the windows, it's not really having a negative impact on the walls because we flashed forward and the color isn't all too drastically different. There we go. That looks good. All right, back to Lightroom. Let's get rid of this one and that one. So do we have our finished product? We do. All right, this one we're concerned about the bathroom. We want the bathroom to look nice. Let me see how white those cabinets are. Pretty white. That looks pretty good to me. Now, the next one is the bathroom or the bedroom. So those windows look crisp. We're gonna get a little bit of the all right, so these look very different. We may have run into the same issue that we had in the last one, but let's take a look. Let's open as layers in Photoshop. I think the bathroom one, we start with the bathroom one on the bottom. I think this one's too drastic. You know, we'll just paint a little bit on it. So let's select that one, layer mask, Command I. And now let's Control Option, click, and then we'll make this bigger. Flow is pretty heavy. Let's just see what it does real quick if we do quick. But you can see how the flow should be a little bit slower. Let's do back to 9. All right, so I mean, honestly, the fan shadows don't look too bad. Let's touch on that. Maybe a little bit here. We need a little more color there. That looks pretty good, in my opinion. You want it brighter? No. You know, if you went too crazy town, you can obviously swap the colors and just go the opposite direction. But I think it looks pretty good the way I had it. All right. Back to Lightroom. All right, let's see this one. I might just like this one single exposure. There's no flashes from outside. But yeah, it definitely looks lit. I think we do need it. We do need a little bit of the ambient look. All right, I think they're ready. Let's layer them in Photoshop. All right, so we just want a little bit of the ambient, so that one's correct. Layer mask, Command I. So this is mostly what we want. The flow is at 9%. So we just want a little bit of that ambient look on it, so it doesn't look so flashed. No, I don't want to go over the windows. All right, that's good to me. You know what I don't like is when a lot of times when you just use the flash exposure, it just looks a little bit like flash, which isn't really the look I personally like. Some of you guys might like the flash look. I'm not the biggest fan. You know, this one does look good, but it could definitely use a little bit of ambient color. Here's the ambient. Let's see where we're at. Hey, we're getting here. We're getting towards the end here. All right, so I'm gonna go to develop on the ambient one, auto, and just kind of fine tune it how I would like the ambient to look. It's probably I don't know. I think that's good enough. So ambient on top, we just want a little bit of the ambient look on the flash. So that needs to go down. Layer mask, Command I. Now just take a little bit of that flash look off. I think that did the trick. Yeah, it definitely looks more natural. All right. But sometimes with the flash, like this one, for example, I can't really tell that this one is flashed or not. It looks good to me. Straighten it out a bit. Yeah, I like this shot. All right, let's keep going. All right, I'm pretty happy with this one. Let's keep going. Now let me undo this because this one has layers. There we go. So that, I really like how the inside, the bathroom actually looks good. It's just me in the mirror. So this one I'm just concerned about the mirror. I think we got it. It's pretty close on the inside and outside. So I think even if it pours over a bit, it's not gonna look weird like the office. All right, Control Option click. Whoops, I'll wait for this thing to load up. All right, yep, so we want the ambient on top. Layer mask, Command I. Control Option. Yeah, if it's going too slow, let's increase the flow. Just moving myself out of there. That looks good. Now there's still that little camera peeking over. We'll see if Lightroom does a decent job or not. Let's see. Sometimes I just try different settings just to see if I can get a decent result. All right, let's just use the clone tool in Photoshop. All right. So Control Option, shrinking that down. Now we're gonna hold Option. We're gonna start just cloning from up top. Am I on the right tool? It's not showing up, hold on. There we go. All right, that looks good enough. I can see a little bit, but that works for me. Doesn't look distracting. All right, let's get rid of that. Move on. Let's do auto. This is a single exposure shot. Straighten that out. Single exposures are nice when you don't have to deal with crazy windows or anything else. Let me just copy this one. This is likely going to be similar here. Does look a little bit too warm. There we go. Let's just do profile straight auto and just see what happens. The auto didn't do so good. Let's go ahead and increase the exposure, make it bright in here. Set the white balance on the toilet. Yeah, that looks more realistic. And let's reduce the exposure in this little hot spot right here. It looks... Or do I just crop it down? No, I like it better a little bit bigger. It honestly isn't too distracting for me if I'm looking at it right here. I knew about it because that's what I was paying attention to, but I like how it looks. Let's move on. Now this one's just regular room. It's easier to get away with a single exposure flash on an empty room with nothing around. You don't have to deal with hot spots on furniture and different things. All right. Now this is the not so great time of day shooting exteriors. Yeah, let's just bring up vibrance. Just let's see if we can mess with settings just to make it look decent on a single exposure edit. All right, let's just roll with that right there. So yeah, these daytime ones are just basically bonus ones. Like the interiors are good, but the exteriors, let me reset this. Man, those settings I had on that porch are no good. Yeah, this honestly does not look good. All right, let me go back to the import. Now, let's see. Now these exteriors, you know, we could do single exposures. What I want to just look at is, you know, what a blended image looks like. Maybe we just do 2 blended shots. I mean, honestly, that one doesn't look too bad. That's all right. Let's just stick to what I had planned originally. I tend to overthink things a little bit. Let's get rid of this. We got a lot of similar shots. We'll go back through these and adjust color, but I'm just trying to get an idea for what we have here. Yeah, the super dark exposures, probably not the best choice on this particular property. I think that shot looks okay. Now, being that these are bonus shots, I'm not gonna include any of those. Those look bad. I mean, especially if on a luxury shoot, right? So I already kind of pre-edited some. All right, so we got the porch shot. We have this one that we did. Now what I'm gonna do is take this regular, that's a 0 shot. And I just wanted to look at which shots that I thought looked good. I think this one looked good. We really only need a few shots of the backyard. So that one, I think with the 3 shots we're good. We know that we don't have amazing shots out back. The backyard wasn't that impressive. It was mostly the interior. So I'm just gonna focus on straightening this. Let's try to make it warm and inviting. Let's see what we can do. And then what I'm going to do is do a sky replacement to at least make it look nicer. So I'm like looking at this down here. Honestly, not that great. Boost them shadows. Maybe just boost the shadows under here. So we can use a brush. I mean, you can use a brush for all kinds of things. Let's just boost shadows under here. Just make it look a little bit better. All right, definitely not my finest work right there. But hey, I'm just gonna copy and paste it over here. It does look too green. Let's go more magenta. There we go. Does this one look too green? Yeah, it looks too green too. Let's go lean towards magenta. I think that might have been what was throwing it off a little bit. That looks more accurate. That's too magenta. All right, that looks all right. All right, so we got these last two. Let's do a, just edit in Photoshop, do a quick sky replacement on these last two. And be done with these daytime ones. What are we at? Almost an hour and a half. Edit, and then we got the Twilight style ones. Now I don't like the lighting and the color adjustments that these things do, so I usually turn those down. Let's pick a different sky. I mean, you can go more dramatic, more subtle. I mean, you can see what you can do. That definitely made some color adjustments to the image. You can load up your own. I think I've loaded up my own. I try to just figure one out that looks realistic. There's so many fake ones. Like, honestly, for a bonus shot, that probably looks pretty good. Looks kind of fake, like I said. You can adjust the lighting if you think it's too dramatic on the image. And obviously you want it to match the other ones. We're not gonna do the, you could do the patio one as well, we're not. So I'm just gonna go with, let's just go with this one. I think that looks pretty realistic, kinda. You can kinda see the fringing, you know? But, all right, that's much better from what we started with. And now I'll use the same sky for the other one as well, because we want some consistency, you know, in our sky replacements. Edit in Photoshop. So it's kind of like that pre-twilight hour. I think it's kind of dark, honestly. I might boost the exposure here in, so here's the before and after. Honestly, not the biggest fan of that sky replacement. But you could spend all day changing, you know, what you want. I'm just gonna leave it. All right, so we went through them all. I'm gonna go back to library now. Like I said, these are the daytime ones, and we did twilight ones as well, so we don't need a crazy amount. But I'm just looking for consistency in the colors. What a lot of things that I look for are like white balancing consistencies. They all look pretty consistent. This pantry, which was a single shot, looks a little bit too magenta to me. So I'm gonna bring it down just a bit towards green. I think that looks a little bit better. Other than that, I think these interior shots turned out pretty good. Obviously, we could have spent a lot more time fine-tuning each one. But for the amount of time we spent on it and the end result, I think I'm pretty satisfied with the results that we got. This one looks a little bit crooked in my opinion. Let me see if we did, yeah, I guess we did. Yeah, I think does it look better? Let's see. Actually, it looks all right. And then usually the laundry room and garage is last before going outside. All right. So from here, let's just, actually, let me make sure the flow is good. That's another thing. All right, so front shots, then we go inside the house, all the main areas, which we did main areas, kitchen and kitchen pantry, kitchen area. Then we go to the master, then secondary bedrooms and bathrooms, laundry room, garage. It's good. File export. Now let's choose a specific folder. So desktop, this one is 4. So we'll do finished. And then we'll export in a subfolder, full resolution. I guess I won't do full resolution first. I'll do the MLS version. So we'll call this one Scottsdale and 80%. It's going to be resized. This is the resolution for our MLS that we like to do. So that's export number 1. Now we'll export again, full resolution. So we're going to put in a subfolder called full resolution, and then we're going to uncheck the image resizing option. That's just going to 80% quality in full resolution. Export. And so from there, we'll just move those exports to Dropbox and send the customer links to their photos. So that's pretty straightforward. Pretty happy with the results that we got. Obviously, that you can have different personal preferences on how much time you spend doing what. But for the amount of time we spent on this particular edit, I think the results came out pretty good. So anyways, if you guys have any additional questions about editing a home like this, feel free to reach out. And we will see you guys on the next one.